Welcome to Discovering. I'm in Germfask at Northland Outfitters, hanging out with Benny, the beard fisher.
We just thought one of these trolls would be so cool in the UP. Just thought it was like the perfect setting for one.
And we take the ultimate trillium tour.
So sit back and relax. It's Monday night and it's time for Upper Michigan's very own Discovering.
The secret streams that flow beneath the cliffs of colored stone. Forest thick and healthy with birch and pine and oak. Surrounded by the greatest lakes this world has ever known. The black bear's awesome presence as he roams the hills and fields. Call of the timber wolf, the loon's lonesome trill. The eagle soaring high above, the trout lies deep and still. These are what I treasure, the only way I measure feelings that I have for this fine land. There is so much to discover when you're a long-time lover of northern Michigan.
Roadside attractions are as American as apple pie. When long-distance car travel became a possibility and American family road trips were born in the 20s and 30s, creative entrepreneurs across the country began building attractions to, well, attract those new travelers to their businesses and towns.
There are 4,000 cars that pass by Northland every day. I feel like getting a small percentage of those people here to see such an attraction would be great for us.
You may have passed by your fair share of them here in the UP, like Da Upers Tourist Trap, Lake and Inland, the Mystery Spot, and a giant measuring stick in the Keweenaw, just to name a few. Now we have one more, a 30-foot long, 14-foot tall, out-of-place troll. Only in the thought that trolls live below the bridge. But Benny the Beard Fisher, he's quite at home here in the UP, perched along the bank of the Manistique River, gazing into the water as he patiently awaits an unsuspecting fish or kayaker.
So this is a work by Thomas Dambo. He's a renowned artist all around the world. He has these trolls in 17 countries.
If you didn't know Benny was here, you'd drive right by him. He's hidden inside the campground at Northland Outfitters on M77 in Germfask, owned and operated by Durea and Levi Brady, who moved here from Denver, Colorado.
Quick story how we got here is it was just our dream to own a campground, and found this one over the internet. Did a little turn and burn trip, flew into Chicago, came and visited the campground for 2 hours, and that was it.
One river trip and we were sold.
The couple bought Northland Outfitters in April of 22 with ideas to expand the business, but a giant wooden troll wasn't the original plan.
We had never seen one in person, but there's one in Breckenridge, so we knew of him. But we really didn't know much. Honestly, I just wrote a letter and I didn't expect it to spiral into this, but here we are.
Yeah, I remember the day that Doris showed me when we were in Colorado and showed me Isaac Hartstone, and it was all over the news in Denver. Started following him online and looking at all the other ones, and I think one of our favorites is Hector the Protector. He's like a lighthouse.
We just thought one of these trolls would be so cool in the UP. Just thought it was like the perfect setting for one. And so it spiraled into us doing it here and using our open SBA loan that was initially for snowmobile and ATV rentals. And our banker was very neat. She flew from Georgia to Florida with her underwriter to see a troll in person and came back and convinced her team to let us do it.
With funding in place, the couple got the permits they needed to construct Benny alongside the river and keep him from floating away.
You're gonna have to come back in the spring when it floods, because he's gonna be out of the water and the water is just gonna be surrounding him.
Just weeks before Benny was built, we got permitted to put all this, to raise this by
2 feet or so.
2 feet, because all this height was not here.
And Benny's pretty solid. so he should stay put here during high water years.
The story of the troll is that Thomas Dambo is doing 10 of these across the country. The storyline is Way of the Bird King. The main character troll that comes from Denmark, he's told he has to follow the birdhouses, and he meets other trolls along the way that have little nuggets of advice because he's trying to figure out what's polluting the water.
The artist Thomas Dambo and his team built Benny last summer.
Thomas and his team of 11 all came, they're international, so they came from all over the world. Lots of family and friends flew in.
And then we gathered all the material up locally. So, he said it was one of the most recycled wood trolls that he had built.
Benny is constructed mostly out of cedar and maple.
His whole beard was donated by one of our friends that was doing some clearing on his property. We got some big donations from Timber Products and Unising, and Levi took Thomas down some back roads and such and found some really sweet Amish folks that had mills, and they donated a lot of the cedar. And it really became, a big group effort. They were here for 11 days. It took 8 days to build him, though. The head, the feet, and the hands were built in Denmark, and they were shipped over.
The artist drew his inspiration from the landscape and some help from Levi and Durea, who worked up the courage to ask for Benny to be a nice troll, not the scary child-eating trolls of Danish folklore.
After the first day we met him, he woke up and he's like, I came up with the pose. And then he just kind of got down underneath the awning in front of the store, got into Benny's pose and grabbed Durea's scarf and kind of, hung it off the edge of the deck and then said, take a picture. And that's kind of what happened. And then when he was out here building him, he's out here laying on the ground and kind of twisting differently and taking more pictures of himself. I don't think we could have got a better pose. You put the large commission down, half of it gets, sent over to him, and then you find out what you get afterwards. We were biting our fingernails for sure.
Because it was supposed to be artist-free expression. But we're we'd really like one that looks more like a man with a beard.
I love his face. Yeah, his face is really special. I think we got lucky.
Big Ben looks like he comes with some big upkeep.
So we use natural, like a varnish, and we got some that was UV protectant to keep them looking pretty young. We want them to last. Some of them I don't think get treated and they start to age pretty quick. And so we have permission also from Thomas to replace some pieces as they fall off or get bad. So
we'll keep them fresh as long as we can.
Yeah. But the structure of him is made of cedar, so I think that he's going to stand up pretty good to the test of time.
Northland has transformed quite a bit in the last year. We've added 4 more cabins, so now we have a total of 8, and we've renovated the old ones. Outfitted really cute with lots of fun antiques and cute stuff to look at. Another bathhouse. So everybody is now very conveniently located to a bathhouse, about 20-second walk from any site. So really not a bad seat in the house anymore. We also have a store, so lots of merch and lots of gear, Northland gear. So.
In addition to the cabins, the campground features RV and tent sites. I stayed the night in one of the riverside cabins during my work travels, and it was as cozy and relaxing as it looks. Durea and Levi say they inherited a lot of repeat campers, and I can see why.
I think the most joyous part is probably the feedback that we get from our campers. People just seem to be really happy here. They always get complimented on the vibe, and so that's rewarding.
It's nice to have a job where you can see people having a smiling face after they get off the river, and they're enjoying their stay. They're on vacation, so it feels like you're on vacation.
There's definitely been tons of people who have already booked for next year, but there was already a built-in, a community of people that, this is their spot. We inherited a whole family.
In the morning, I had coffee with Benny and stretched my legs along the new boardwalk they built.
So this kind of gives the campers somewhere to walk and take their dogs instead of just walking through the campground now.
In the spring, it's filled with water. It's super pretty.
Added some of Thomas Dambo's birdhouses that they made. It's all wonky because you got to avoid the tree roots and stuff with the auger. And so that was a real difficult task to try to get through all the muck and avoid the roots. It's kind of trolly, right?
I think the main focal point of Northland Outfitters is that it's a canoe and kayak livery. So we service 100 miles of the Manistique River and parts of the Fox.
Yeah, we've got about 100 boats.
Single kayaks, double kayaks, canoes. Got you covered. Lots of fun day trips. I think the most popular one is what we've coined the troll stroll. It's a 2.5-hour trip where we drive you upstream and then you float back down to us and you pass Benny along the way.
I think parents sometimes keep it a secret from their kids, and then they come around the corner and they kind of lose their mind a bit. And they screaming and hollering. Yeah. And then, if you're on the water, Benny kind of comes to life a little bit. His eyes track you as you're kind of rolling by him, so I'm sure the kids get a kick out of it.
While I was there, I also paddled the troll stroll and kayaked the 10-mile stretch of the Manistique River from the 10 Curves road access back to the campground. It's advertised as a 2.5-hour trip, but I think it took us longer as I filmed and took in the sights. This is a beautiful, slow-moving stretch of river, making for an easy, relaxing paddle or float. This was in the fall and the water level was pretty low. The river is wide and the water is crystal clear. There is one little portage around a dam. And there is one spot where the river goes around an island and you can take the easy way or the hard way. I took the easy way. There's a lot of deadfalls in the river, and the crew from Northland Outfitters helps maintain this stretch of the river and cuts trees out of the way, and there are a lot of them. And as you paddle past Benny, he really does come to life as his eyes follow you down the river. So the next time you're traveling down M28 or US 2, take that M77 stretch between the two highways and into Germfask, pay the troll toll and follow the birdhouses to find Benny.
There's not a lot to do between St. Ignace and Munising, and everybody does that stretch. So it's a good little pit stop. Go stretch your legs, walk your dog, have a cup of coffee with Benny.
If you build it, they will come. So new this year, and probably due to Benny's increasing popularity, you do need to reserve a time slot to visit Big Ben.
It's been immense. Tons of people. Because he has such a following, like from all the other trolls around the country, there's so many people that would have never otherwise stopped here. He's definitely becoming beloved. They're magnets, honestly.
Yeah. The one that they did right before Benny, that was the one in Vermont. It got shut down because there was too much traffic on the roads.
Oh yeah, they've already had to move it.
Yeah.
He was built a week before ours. Luckily, we're not in like the craziest populated place in the country.
Yeah, so we're not going to see those kind of numbers.
No, which is nice. He wouldn't be as special if he was just getting ran over.
The campground and Benny are open from mid-May to mid-October. After the snow finally melts, one of the first signs that spring is really here is the appearance of something else white blanketing the ground. The great white trillium, one of the earliest blooming woodland wildflowers. These perennial beauties spring up in my neck of the woods of Ontonagon County in mid to late May. Being ephemeral, they only last 2 to 3 weeks. Also called the white wake robin, snow trillium, trinity flower, or large flowered trillium, it is easily recognizable by its waxy white flower with 3 petals, 3 sepals that surround the flower, and 3 deep green leaves per stem. The great white trillium is part of the lily family and is a delicate flower. Most people know it's illegal, or at least taboo, to pick this 3-petaled wildflower. The plant is long-lived, living for over 70 years, but it takes about 17 years to mature, and picking the flower with its leaves can prevent it from regrowing. Great white trillium generally occurs in patches of dozens to hundreds to thousands of individual flowers. Until now, I had never seen them by the thousands. Trilliums grow best on well-drained, rich composted soils in deciduous or mixed woodlands, wooded slopes, large shady ravines, and rocky bluffs. So the hills and bluffs between Mass City and Rockland are the perfect place to go looking for them by the thousands. I met up with Mass City native Dean Jutinen and his cousin Rick Ojala for the ultimate trillium tour.
Trillions of trilliums. I don't know how many there are, but there's a lot.
And being a beautiful spring day, we took ATVs.
I'm going to show you the thickest patch of trilliums I've ever seen. These are pretty thick, but not as thick as that really thick patch. It's like nothing but trilliums. And the prettiest power line I've ever seen, too. The trilliums are kind of slowly growing right into the open area on the power lines.
Another fun fact I learned while researching, white-tailed deer are also particularly fond of eating trilliums. Trilliums weren't the only sight on our tour. We passed through the hills of a few old copper mines, the Caledonia, Nebraska, and Minnesota mines.
So we'll just go a little bit farther in here and we'll actually go back toward that Nebraska entrance and then it'll be a dead end. But you can walk over and look at the entrance then. It's a very, very short walk, like less than 100 yards. From here to Mass City, it's called the Evergreen Bluff. And as you can see, the pine trees really like that rocky surface. They find their cracks in the rocks and there's just enough soil for them. And they do really well.
We rode to the tops of bluffs to check out the spectacular views.
That is the river coming from Victoria Dam, combined south and west branch, and it meets the middle and east branch. They come from Military Hills are over there. See the highway, little piece of highway?
And above Rockland to a church replica, which I thought would be a tad bit bigger.
Used to be a full-size church on the hill, of course, with a light up in the steeple. They put a light up in there. Over this way, there was not a tree to be seen anywhere. Back when the Minnesota mine was going strong in the heyday, they mowed every single tree on all these hills. If you see the old photos, they're just bare hills. So you had a clear view to Lake Superior. From right here where you're standing, you could actually see the blue waters of Lake Superior. The lighthouse in Ontonagon, as it turns out, lined up nicely with this old church here. So when they put a light in this church, it essentially acted as a range light. If you lined up the light in Ontonagon with the light in the church, it gave you the straight path up the river if you were coming in with a boat. So they used it for navigation for a while.
Whether you're out looking for wildflowers, mine shafts, vistas, or the ruins of bygone towns, there is much to explore right here in our own backyard. And another sign of spring is white-tailed deer are dropping their fawns right now. So please stay alert as you're driving down the roads. That's all for tonight, and I hope to see you right back here next week for Upper Michigan's very own Discovering.